Hi, how you guys doing? I hope you guys are doing well. I hope you're taking care of yourself and you're staying safe out there. Um, Last week in my tools, I discussed two things about Haiti. I talk about Haiti and the problem that caused the country to be where it is today, and what brings the country to where it is now. And the two problem I mentioned were an identity, lack of we losing our identity as a nation, and the second problem was a lack of social contract. Someone wrote me and asked me if I could elaborate further on that, and if I could give some ideas, entertain some ideas of how we can resolve that problem if possible. First of all, I'd like to say thank you to the person who wrote to me and asked me to elaborate, because that will help me get an idea to know where people want to go and what people are wondering and question people have. But also, I want to say that there is no one answer to the Haitian problem. There is different answers. There's several solutions out there. People are welcome. I would love to see people put comments down there and put what their solutions are, what they think can resolve the problems of this country. Because after all, we are all Haitian. It's our land, and we all need to deal with it. We all need to look at the problem and see if we could find a solution, a Haitian solution, not an international solution, but a Haitian solution. But my take on this is, because of that, I wanna look at the first part of what I discussed last week, which was the losing our identity. And I want to divide it in three sections, and I'm going to talk three parts, and I'm going to talk about the first part today, which is the first part is where we are from. And that I should say that I want to discuss the identity part in three ways. First part is where are we from, who we are, and where do we see ourselves as a nation 200 years down the line. So I want to talk about the first part today, which is where are we from. Um, of course, it is obvious to most of us. Haitians are of African descent, and based on research, we are from Senegal to Congo, throughout the whole Western Africa. We're picked throughout Africa, and but mostly we always identify ourselves as people from Benin, because we have because of the phone language, which is a Haitian language, and that which is the language that the Haitian language is based on, is based off a lot of word in Creole is from the Fon language, and Fon is the language of the people from Benin. And also because we practice the same culture, the same religion, Vodou, and people from Benin practice the same religion. Granted that religion is practiced all throughout Africa, it may be called differently. It may have a different name for it throughout the continent, but Benin actually call it Vodou, like we call it Vodou. So because of that, we know a lot of us are from Benin. But my my main thing is, okay, we are from Africa, but when people talk about Haitian, they usually see slavery, 1804. But this is not all we are. We are from Benin, like I said before, and from Africa. I think we need to go back and understand the root, understand where we came from, Africa. Because we have our history in until, of course, slavery is part of our history, but slavery is not all our history. Our history started in Africa. It started in Benin. It started in Congo. It started in Senegal. Wherever we are from, different part of us in Africa, that's where it started. I think it will be important for Haitian to invest money and invest funding in archaeologists, in sociology, psychologists, um, researchers, historians, to go back and research our past, to research our path, to know where we came from. I think it will be very important for us, because like that we'll be able to understand why we think the way we think, why we eat the way we eat, why we act the way we act. Okay? Because if we know our past, we understand where we come from, it's easier to create a present and a future, because there is no present, there's no future without the past. They all necessary, they all one, they all, you need one to have another. So in that aspect, I think it will be important for Haitians to retrace their path back to Africa. But it's also important for us to retrace our path from 1804 to 1986. Because from 1804 to 1986, that's the time we were on land in Haiti. And of course, we were in Haiti before 1804. But I'm saying from the time we become independent, we need to know what happened from 1804 to 1986, because that's where we had a lot of things that happened, a lot of stories that happened, and that is not acknowledged, that is not known. There is this say by Wunoko Rashidi that says, you do for yourself based, let me look at it to make sure I'm saying the right thing, okay? To be sure, what you do for yourself depend on what you think of yourself. What you think of yourself depend on what you know of yourself. And what you know of yourself depend on what you've been told of yourself. Do you know that history book in Haiti that they use in school is written by French? French write our own history for us. The very people we had for as enemies are the ones who write our history for us. In 1860, the Haitian government signed a concordat, which is a contract with the Vatican, to come and educate Haitian. And the Vatican came in a country at that time, and that's when they established all the Catholic school they have in Haiti, and that's when Catholic take the roots in Haiti. Again, they established a French system in Haiti. How do you fight against someone? You fight against the idea, and then you go back and adopt their idea. So it kind of makes our history very contradictory, and I think that's part of the problem, identity problem, because a lot of Haitian, although they know they are of Haitian descent, African descent, they don't truly accept it as African. They don't really truly accept it as true, okay, as they are out of African descent. Because as Haitian, we live our lives as African. We educate our children as French. We practice voodoo, but we go to church every Sunday. Our nation's supposed to be a secular nation, but every president inauguration is done by the archbishop, a Catholic archbishop. There's a lot of contradiction in this in Haiti, and we need to work at it. We need to make sure that we know who we are. We need to be grounded. I feel like we're not grounded as a nation. We don't know where we are and who we are really. We don't know where we're from, and we need to understand where we're from. And how are we gonna understand how we're from? Like I said, we need to invest in research. We need to invest in we need to create foundation. Okay, we have a lot of wealthy people in Haiti, but I don't think we can point to one of them that create a foundation that benefit education for the youth. We need to invest in our youth, invest in them, create foundation that promote psychologists, that promote archaeologists, researchers, sociologists, scientists, where we can use those knowledge and invest it in our culture, invest it in our country, so we know who we are, so we could rebuild that country, because we need to revisit our history. There's an old African proverb that says, um, until the lion learns how to talk, the tales of hunts will always favor the hunter. Okay? We as Haitian need to write our own history books in Creole, and we need to tell our stories through our voice because we live that story. Do you know that after 1804, Dessalines, our forefather who gave us freedom, fought for our freedom, one of our forefathers, because we had several, but Dessalines was one of our forefathers who gave us freedom, who fought for us. Do you know after they killed him in 1806, Haitians were not allowed to talk about him for 50 years. We were not allowed to discuss Dessalines. We were not allowed to even say his name. If we said his name, we will be punished for it. I also said from 1804 to 1986, we need to understand and research and understand our culture, understand who we are as a people, because from 1804 we had our freedom, but after that we've been in 1806, that freedom was taken and stolen very young. We didn't have a time to really develop it. We didn't have a time to structure a country because too many people were involved. Too many politics were going on. French wanted to come back and take over and take Haiti back. We had to fight the French off. We had to fight the Spaniard off. We had to fight some British off. We were fighting all over places. We couldn't keep up. That's why when they asked for us to pay for our independence, we go ahead and pay because it was to a benefit because we were tired of fighting. But to have somebody giving you freedom and then to not talk about it, not even mention his name for 50 years. And I'm not even sure if it wasn't even more. If it was more, please somebody write down in the comments. I would like to know. But I think they said it was about 50 years we were not allowed to discuss or talk about Dessalines because they want us to forget about who he was. From 1804 from 1986, we had a lot of issues. Do you know that Haiti was occupied in 1915 by the U.S.? U.S. entered Haiti and because we're having a lot of turmoil again, coup d'etat after coup d'etat. And when the United States came, they took over Haiti. They put us back in slavery. They never said that in the history, right? Because slavery is a dirty word. But they call it corvée, which is a word they use in Haitians still use that word today. But when you force somebody to work for free, it is slavery. Okay? 1915 to 1934, Haitians were forced to work in camp, okay, for the United States. Because of that, that's why there's a large concentration, there's a large batey in DR. It was the United States. When the United States took Haiti in 1915, it didn't take just the French part, it took both part, also the DR part. And then it sent Haitians to DR to work for free in the sugarcane plantation. Those Haitians stay there and live there. The United States also take Haitian to Cuba. That's why there's a large population of Haitian descent in Cuba. It was United States who did that, and they were forced to work for free. That's slavery. These things are never discussed. They're not taught like that in our schools because it's not Haitian teaching our schools. It's French. Okay, French wrote a history book for us and they decide whatever they want in our history book and they said this is what you're gonna learn. I'm gonna tell you what you're gonna learn of yourself. Okay, and the way they teach us to hate ourselves because they teach Haitian to see only failure in Haiti. They only show you the bad part of Haiti in Haitian history. But no one ever discussed in Haitian history how our ancestors sat down from different part of Africa with different language from different countries of Africa in a what, in a matter of years, okay, maybe 50, 60, 70 years, they created a language where they could communicate together enough to plot and create a great revolution, the only successful revolution. They never give us that perspective of our history. They don't talk about that perspective of our history. They don't also talk about how we from different part of Africa, but yet we sat down together and we say, we're gonna fight together, even though we're from different part of Africa, but here on this land, we are all one. And as one, we're gonna fight together. And we're gonna be free. They never discuss how intelligent Dessalines was as a man. They always described Dessalines as a brute. Okay, when they discussed Vertières in French history, they said the massacre of the French in Vertières. But it was war. Just as I could easily say the massacre of the Iraqi in Iraq by the United States government. I'm not going to say that because it's war. When you have war, people die on both sides. But they want to put a negative connotation to it. They said the massacre of the French in Vertières. Okay, but Dessalines was a very intelligent man. Okay, he and Boisrontonnerre, who was also our forefather, wrote a book. But you're never going to see that book. Okay? If we really look at that's also perspective of history, that if we were writing it, these things we will put in our history. Do you know that Henri Christophe built the citadel? But if somebody is so stupid and they said we Haitians were slaves and they were not allowed to read because it was in the black code, black people shouldn't read, they couldn't learn how to read. But how do we build such a fort? And we didn't build just a citadel. We built several forts in the country. So if we were writing our history, we would explain how these things were happening. But no, we didn't write our history. Other people wrote it for us. All they talk about is all the coup d'etat and all the negative part, the massacres of the French, and all the negative aspect. If they portray Dessalines as a ruthless criminal, a terrible person, but nobody ever knew that Dessalines. Do you know that Dessalines worked together with the people from Poland? When the French came with a lot of people from Poland to fight against the Haitian, and they came to Haiti and realized that the French were enslaving them. And it's the same slavery that the French were doing in Poland that they're doing in Haiti. They decide to fight alongside the Haitian. And they fought with us. And if Dessalines was such a bad person, why would he fight with them? He didn't look at they were white. He would not fight with them. He looked at the fact that they were brothers in arms. And we will fight together because we're fighting for the same thing. Do you know that Dessalines wrote a letter to Jefferson? These things they don't discuss in our histories in Haiti. Haitian people don't know these things. Yes, the very same Jefferson, Thomas Jefferson, Dessalines wrote a letter to him and said to him, we are brothers in arms because we're fighting against the same thing you fighting against Britain. Fight with us. But again, he rejected Dessalines. But that being said, these were not stupid people. They were not slaves that did independence in the whim. They were smart people that plot and put together a revolution that was successful. But if we were the one telling our stories, we would have been able to tell those stories. We would have been able to paint it the way in a favorable light for us, for our children, to be proud of who they are. And I think part of it is we don't know where we're from. When I say where we come from, I'm not only referring to the land where we come from. I'm also referring to the history, the background, the experiences, everything that happened in the past, how that shaped us as a nation. We need to know that. And only way we're going to know that is if we, us, Haitian, invest our time in researching our background, who we are. And it's necessary to do. Because if you need to move a nation forward, you need to first take a few steps backward. And what I mean, and what we need to do today, I believe, as Haitian, we need to invest money. Invest money in education. Not the kind of education we have right now in Haiti, because right now we have a bunch of schools. Schools are all over places in Haiti, but they are not real schools. In Haitian words, we have a little word we call those kind of schools, l'école bolette, which mean bad schools, ghetto school in a way. If we could translate it in English, that's what I would say, ghetto schools. Because they're not really giving the kids real education. Because what they did after the independence in 1860s, when the Haitian signed that Concordat, signed that contract with Vatican, they only built schools in the big cities, the capitals and the big cities. And they left all the rural part of Haiti. They only created schools where they teach them how to plant and how to do agricultural work, but never real schooling. So what they did is they created a class in Haiti. They divided the country. They created a different class. To put on that, on top of that, to add on to that, in 1915, when the United States came in Haiti, they created a class of mulattoes, a light-skinned class. If you were not light-skinned, you were not allowed to attend college. You were not allowed to go to universities. You were not allowed to go to, you couldn't be an officer. You could be a simple soldier, but you can't be an officer. And the United States, just like the system they created here, a system of segregation. They segregated the nation of Haiti. And all these things, all these division that was put in our culture, okay, in our history, mean create the kind of Haitian we are today. And we need to understand why we act the way we act today and why we do the things we do today. Because we never took, we never had roots in this country, really. We never called it our own. Because from 1804 till nowadays, there's always been some kind of oppression of the Haitian people. We started with the French. We ended with the French. We kill Dessalines, and a lot of massacre happening after Dessalines. They were going around killing all the leaders of the independence. Not Peter, I'm sorry, Christophe was also, he killed himself, but he killed himself after a stroke because they were coming after him to kill him. Okay? They were coming after him to kill him anyway. Since he had a stroke, he said, you know what, I'm not going to let them capture me and kill me. I'm just going to go ahead and kill myself. But we had a history of oppression after oppression after oppression. After the French, we had the American in 1915. And after 1915, which is a United States left Haiti in 1934. And when they left Haiti, they left military that was trained by them, trained for them in their interests. Those Haitian militaries were never Haitian militaries for Haiti. They were in favors of the Americans. They always benefit Americans. American interest in Haiti, and they oppress the people. And after that, you end up with Duvalier. Duvalier is another oppressor. And after Duvalier, we have, which was Papa Doc, we had Baby Doc. And after Baby Doc, we had 1986. We start having a group of people where they were oppressing the people still, because they call them the Zengledo. After the Zengledo, we start having, from Duvalier we had Totomaku, now we had Zengledo. After Zengledo, we are having the stuff we are having now. Okay? A group of people going around and the gang we have in Haiti. So Haitian people always been a group of oppressed people. And as an oppressed people, we have trauma. That's why I said we need to have psychologists too in the group of people we need to invest on, because Haitian people has a lot of trauma, and those trauma, we never resolve them, we never deal with them. And if you are in a traumatic state all the time, you're always in a fight or flight mode, the best chance you get to leave, you will leave, because you don't see this country as your mother, as a country where you want to help, as a country you want to invest in. You see it as a threat. And if you see something as a threat, you don't want to live in the threatened environment. You want to leave. You want to go somewhere else where it's safe. Which understand why Haitians are always migrating to other countries. So that's why I think the first step for us is to retrace our history, retrace our path, understand where we come from. And we have a lot of people in Haiti, the so-called bourgeois, or they call themselves the nanti d'Haïti, but none of these nanti who has all this benefit in this country, who have all this money in the country, and all this money they have is because of the country. We need to force them to invest in foundation, just like you have the Melinda Gates Foundation here. You had the any rich people foundation who put money aside to educate Haitian. Of course, you're gonna give them scholarship with conditions, but we need to do that. Those people who are wealthy in Haiti, their job is not just to be there and say they're wealthy or make money off Haitian. As Haitian citizens, if they really think they are Haitian citizens, here's a challenge to them. They need to start creating foundation, creating scholarship fund to help young Haitian, to create a new generation of young Haitian with different mindset in education, to invest in our education, the real education, where Haitian can create and create for themselves and reconstruct their country within their image. Because Haiti is for Haitian, and Haitian need to build Haiti. There's a lot of people out there who can give solution, and I welcome all the comment, all the solution. This is one of the first thing I think we need to address for our identity crisis. The first one is where we from. The next segment I will discuss who we are and where we should look, where we would be, the country should be 200 and 300 years from now. Guys, like I said, thank you for coming to this channel and visit us. Thank you for the people who subscribe. Please put comment down there. Don't forget to share the video and hit the bell for notification the next time we are uploading another video. Thank you. See you guys next time.